All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is Friday. Welcome to the Steve Malzberg Show from our New York City studios. The big news of the day, the National Review goes after Donald Trump. They wrote an editorial trashing Trump, and they enlisted 20 conservatives, very prominent conservatives, to do the same. Now, we're going to speak to two of those conservatives, Bill Kristol and Andy McCarthy, together in this segment after Dinesh D'Souza joins us to weigh in. But first, I want to familiarize you with part of the National Review editorial. We'll put it up on the screen. I'll do my best to read it to you so you can understand it. This is a small part of it. Some conservatives made it their business to make excuses for Trump and duly get pats on the head from him. Count us out. Donald Trump is a menace to American conservatism who would take the work of generations and trample it underfoot in behalf of populism as heedless and crude as the Donald himself. All right, I have my problems with this. I think it's counterproductive. We'll get to my take on it momentarily, believe me, and the Gimme 5 will be focused on the editorial and the National Review and Donald's reaction. But first, Dinesh D'Souza, political commentator, documentarian, filmmaker, New York Times best-selling author of Stealing America, that's the latest one, joins us in studio. So, Dinesh, let me ask you, first of all, what do you have to say to the National Review?
Well, the first thing I say is that if you're right, we have a mystery, which is here you have a Republican Party. By and large, its activists are conservative. How is it possible that a man who betrays the fundamental principles of conservatism is leading in the polls? Ultimately, the problem would not seem to be with Trump. It would seem to be with the Republicans who support Trump. So the National Review, in a sense, is being a little weak in not attacking them because they'd be attacking their own constituency, their own readers. So I think the question is this: what is the secret of Trump's appeal to Republicans and to conservatives? Number one, he's the most politically incorrect man in America. That's appealing. The other Republicans always seem to hold a little back. Trump holds nothing back. Number two, he's a Republican candidate for president who's not scared of being rich. Really important. Look at Romney, who was like so defensive about making money, allowed the Obama attack to wear him down. Trump, I'm rich. In fact, I'm richer than you think, and I'm proud of it.
Over and over and over.
Very positive. Yeah. The third thing is that Trump is willing to go where other Republicans aren't. I mean, people feel like if Trump is elected, he'll lift up all the stones and the Obama administration look under them. We'll find out all the stuff that's been going on behind closed doors. The other Republicans won't do that. So this is the appeal of Trump, that Trump ultimately represents a certain upping of the ante, and we're at a moment where the American dream is precarious. We need a guy to sort of take it to the next level.
Yeah, and what I see is that if National Review fails in their attempt to destroy Trump, what are they going to do if he's the nominee? Are they going to say, oh, but we support him anyway eventually after they've torn him down here? And if they tear him down, at what expense? I mean, who comes to the top?
I think the National Review contribution to this debate is not bad. I think it is good for intellectual conservatives to weigh in on this. Their points are not entirely invalid. Also, National Review historically has had a role of, you may say, policing the right. Even in Buckley's day, there was the John Birch Society. There were people who were anti-Semitic who claimed to be conservative, and Buckley saw it as his job to say, the fence is drawn over here, you're on the outside of the fence. So they're trying to play a little bit of that historical role, but of course the circumstances are quite different.
Do you think it backfired? Do you think that, the average Trump supporter doesn't know and couldn't care less about National Review, will see it as, even though it's not necessarily establishment, and they'll say, hey, just makes Trump's point?
Yeah, I don't think this is going to dent Trump's real support. I don't think so. What it will do probably is ostracize Trump a little bit more within the intellectual ranks of the Republican Party. But those intellectual ranks are a small part of the overall strength of the party.
Let's listen to something Lindsey Graham said about choosing between Donald Trump and Ted Cruz. Let's watch.
If you nominate Trump and Cruz, I think you get the same outcome. Whether it's death by being shot or poisoning, does it really matter? I don't think the outcome will be substantially different.
All right, so, he doesn't want Cruz, he doesn't want Trump, he probably wants, he does want Jeb Bush, or who did he endorse? I think it was Jeb Bush.
Perhaps, I think he originally wanted Lindsey Graham.
Yes, but that came up a big zero,
Yeah. Look, there's Trump and Cruz are very different. Cruz is an intellectual guy. I don't think the National Review would say those things about Cruz that it said about Trump. But there is a common denominator between Cruz and Trump. They are the two ultimate outsiders of the Republican Party, because Cruz has alienated much of the establishment. Trump is no member of the establishment.
Right.
So it's not a secret that the inside guys are doing really poorly. Ben Carson was doing pretty well, even though he came out of nowhere. So I think what this should be a real message to the RNC, that you guys have messed things up very badly. It should be a real message to the Republican Congress. You've been in charge for the last couple of years. What have you done?
Nothing. All right. Talk about an effort to get your file from the Justice Department. Who's behind it? I believe a very distinguished member of Congress. And what's the purpose of it?
So Congressman Ron DeSantis of Florida has been following my case. And he found something very disturbing.
The case that you were convicted of.
This is I was convicted of campaign finance violations. And when the Obama administration, when the government made the petition to the judge for my sentencing, they took a whole series of cases. All cases in which the guys went to prison, but they all went to prison for corruption. In one case, the guy was a repeat offender. They were trying to buy offices. This is why the campaign finance laws exist. What the government did is they edited those cases, removing all indications of corruption, and essentially fed false information to the judge, basically saying, hey, Your Honor, it's pretty normal for guys who give 20 grand over the limit to get prison time. Total falsehood. So Congressman DeSantis, who's a prosecutor himself, goes, when he saw that, he knew that these people are dirty, and he said, I need to find that file. So he went to the chairman of the Oversight Committee, and the Oversight Committee has now demanded the file. Very interestingly, the Obama Justice Department is dodging. We can't give you the file. We'll give you a briefing. We don't really feel it's appropriate. So the next step is a subpoena. But their cagey behavior tells me that there's something in the file that they're trying to protect.
Wow. What do you think it is?
I don't know, but there's all, how did this case get started? How did they find out about this violation?
Well, that would all be in the file.
That would all be in the file. And so the judge had said I had not proven selective prosecution. And he's right. That's because the proof, if there exists any proof, will be in the file.
Will be in the file. Very quickly, based on your experience and what you're telling me now, you have confidence that FBI and DOJ will indict Hillary Clinton?
I don't know. I do think that as with Hillary, this bizarre behavior in Benghazi with the emails needs a deeper explanation. She's a very seasoned public official. The idea that she would just set up this private server, oops, I don't think so. She had a reason to do it. She had a motive. Something was going on. There's information in there. She didn't want to be out here. And so that motive will be the clue to the whole thing.
Great to see you as always, sir.
My pleasure.
Pleasure to have you in studio. And Dinesh D'Souza, ladies and gentlemen, thank you.